Hey guys, it's me, Elsa, the Inequality Queen, back talking to you about solving inequalities using addition and subtraction. So here's a question. Which Disney character can count the highest? That's Buzz Lightyear. He can count to infinity and beyond.
The first vocabulary term is an inequality, and that's when two statements are not equal. So you're going to have two expressions, and instead of having an equal sign in between them, you're going to have one of these symbols, and that's going to tell you which expression is less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to the other one. And when we graph these on the number line, each of these symbols, these inequality symbols, have a particular open or closed circle that goes with them. And remember, it's just based on whether there's an equal sign underneath. If there's an equal sign underneath your inequality sign, then you're going to have a closed circle on your graph. If there is no equal sign, it's going to be an open circle at whatever value your variable is less than or greater than. Let's also review how to graph inequalities. So we're going to graph this following inequality right here. So the first thing I want you to do is say it in words. X is less than 4. That gives you an idea about how we're going to graph it. Next, in order to graph it, the first thing we need to do is decide, are we going to have an open or a closed circle? Well, since there's no equal sign underneath, we know it's going to be an open circle at 4. So we go to 4 on our number line and we put an open circle. Next, we have to decide, are we shading to the left or to the right? Well, that's where the words come in. X is less than 4. We want all the numbers less than 4. So 3, 2, 1, 0. So we're going to shade to the left. And if you don't remember which way to shade, remember, you can always use our cheat code. What's the cheat code? We can just look at the inequality sign, and whichever way it's pointing, so you see this inequality sign is pointing to the left, that means we're going to shade to the left. And this only works when your variable is on the left-hand side. That's why we always move our variables to the left. Now, solving inequalities. This is a little different than solving equations, but honestly, it's very, very similar. So when solving inequalities, we simplify, move, solve, just like normal. We simplify each side if possible first, then we're going to move the variables to the left-hand side, we're going to move the constants to the right side, and then we're going to solve for the variable. The only difference comes when we are multiplying or dividing by a negative number, and that will come in the next lesson.
Why would Snow White make a good judge? Because she's the fairest one of all. Example time.
So example 1, to solve each inequality and graph your solution. So here, we just want to simplify, move, solve, just like we were doing. Can we simplify? No. Can we move our variable to the left? Oh, it's already done. Perfect. Move our constants to the right then. So we start with anything added or subtracted to our variable. So this plus 6 has to go over here. In order to do that, I do the opposite, the inverse. I subtract 6 on both sides. These cancel out. And then 9 minus 6 is going to give you 3. We're left with x is greater than 3. Now we need to graph our solution. So again, what is this in words? X is greater than 3. Are we going to put an open or a closed circle at 3? There's no equal sign underneath, so it's going to be an open circle at 3. So we go over to 3, put an open circle. And then are we going to shade to the left or the right? Well, we want all the numbers greater than 3. So we're going to pick 4, 5, 6, 7, all the numbers to the right. And again, if you didn't remember, since we have our variable on the left, you look at which way the inequality sign points to the right. That's why we shade that way.
How much did it cost Captain Jack Sparrow to get his ears pierced? About a buccaneer. You try.
Okay, so again, to solve an inequality, simplify, move, solve. Can we simplify either side? No, this is an A, this does not have an A, so we can't simplify that. Next, move our variable to the left. Done. After that, move our constants to the right. So we start with anything added or subtracted to our variable, so this minus 8 has to go. What's the opposite of minus 8? Plus 8. So we're going to add 8 to both sides. That way these cancel out, and we're left with A is less than or equal to negative 4. Now, when we graph it, we want to first say it in words. So what is it again? A is less than or equal to negative 4. That's going to help us when we graph it. So our first step, is it an open or closed circle? Well, since we have this equal sign underneath, we're going to put a closed circle at negative 4. So we go to negative 4, put a closed circle. Now, are we going to shade to the left or the right? Well, we have A is less than or equal to negative 4. So we want all the numbers less than or equal to negative 4. So that would be negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. So we're going to shade to the left of our circle. And again, if you didn't remember that, remember the cheat code. If our variable is on the left, we look at the inequality sign and it's pointing to the left. That's why we shade that way. Example 2, doing the same thing. This time, we have negative 82 is greater than b minus 73. So we simplify, move, solve. Can we simplify either side? No, this has a b, this doesn't, so we can't. Next, move our variables to the left. Anytime you're at the beginning of an equation or an inequality and your variable is on the right, and that's the only variable in the question, you can just flip the inequality or the equation. So we're going to flip this. Now remember, if it's an inequality, you have to remember to flip the sign as well. So if I move this b minus 73 to this side and the negative 82 to this side, I also have to flip the sign. So it looks like this now. Perfect. These mean the same thing. Now my variable's on the left. So I move my constants to the right. I start with anything added or subtracted to my variable. So this minus 73 has to go over here. So I'm going to do the opposite of minus 73. I add 73 to both sides. That way these cancel out and I get b is less than negative 9. Now again, when I graph, I want to say this in words. That way I know how to graph it. b is less than negative 9. Now when I graph it, I start with, do I have an open or a closed circle? Well, there's no equal sign underneath, so it's going to be an open circle at negative 9. So I put an open circle at negative 9. And then do I shade to the left or the right? Well, I want b is less than negative 9. All the b's less than negative 9. So anything less than negative 9, so that'd be negative 10, negative 11, negative 12. So I'm going to shade to the left. If you didn't remember that, you just look at which way the inequality sign points. If you have your variable on the left and you can see it's pointing to the left, so we shade to the left.
Why doesn't Eeyore have any friends? Because he plays with poo all day. You try.
Okay, so again, we simplify, move, solve. Can we simplify either side? No. So we move to the next step. Can we move our variable to the left? Yes, we have to do that. Since it's on the right and we're at the beginning of the inequality, what we can just do is flip the entire inequality. So this g plus 49 goes to this side, the 57 goes to this side, and we change our inequality symbol. We flip that. Now this is the same thing as this, but now we have our variable on the left. Perfect. So we move our constants to the right. So this plus 49 has to go over here. What's the opposite of adding 49? You subtract 49 from both sides. These cancel out and you're left with g is greater than or equal to 8. Now what I can do is say that in words, which is going to help me graph it. G is greater than or equal to 8. First step when graphing, I want to decide, is it an open or a closed circle? Well, since I have this little equal sign underneath, it's going to be a closed circle because we're going to include that point at 8. So we go over to 8, put a closed circle at 8. Now are we going to shade to the left or the right? Well, again, it's g is greater than or equal to 8. So we want all the numbers greater than or equal to 8. So we're going to pick 9, 10, 11. So we want to shade to the right. So it's going to look something like that. If you forgot, remember the cheat code, you just look at which way the inequality symbol is pointing if your variable is on the left. Okay, example 3, we have x plus 6.7 is greater than or equal to negative 2.1. So again, simplify, move, solve. First, can we simplify either side? No. Next, can we move our variable to the left? It's already there. Perfect, done. Next, we move our constants to the right. We start with anything added or subtracted to our variable. So this plus 6.7 has to go over here. I do the opposite. To get rid of it, I subtract 6.7 from both sides. These are going to cancel out, and negative 2.1 minus 6.7 is going to make it more negative. You can also change it to adding the opposite, so you know you're just adding a negative 6.7 to this negative 2.1 and you end up getting negative 8.8. Once we've got that, then we go to the graphing part. So first we say it in words. What is this? X is greater than or equal to negative 8.8. After that, we have our number line. We're going to decide, is it going to be an open or closed circle at negative 8.8? Well, since we have this equal sign underneath, it's going to be a closed circle at negative 8.8. Now, where is negative 8.8? Well, it's between negative 8 and negative 9, and it's going to be closer to negative 9. So it's going to be somewhere like right here. Next, are we shading to the left or the right? Well, again, remember, it's x is greater than or equal to negative 8.8. And that's kind of confusing sometimes when you're dealing with negative numbers, because you're like, whoa, is negative 10 greater than negative 8.8? No, it's less than that. We want all the numbers greater than. So we want negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, and all the positive numbers too. So we're going to shade to the right. And again, if you forgot, remember, since your variable's on the left, you just look at which way the inequality sign points.
What's Grumpy the Dwarf's favorite fruit? That would be sour grapes. You try.
Okay, simplify, move, solve. Can we simplify either side? No. I mean, you could get rid of the fractions, but let's just see what happens if we deal with them like this. So simplify is done. Next, we move our variable to the left. So how do I do that? Remember, it's the beginning of the problem, so I just flip our inequality. I'm going to put p minus 1/3 over here. I'm going to put negative 1/2 over here, and I flip my inequality sign as well. Next, what I do is I'm going to move my constants to the right. So I need to, instead of subtracting 1/3, I need to add 1/3 to both sides. last. That way these cancel out. And over here, -1/2 plus 1/3. How do I do that? Well, remember, when adding and subtracting fractions, they must have a common denominator. So -1/2 plus 1/3, I need these two to have a common denominator. What's the least common denominator between 2 and 3? That's going to be 6, right? I multiply this one by 3/3 and multiply this one by 2/2, because whatever you do to the numerator, you have to do to the denominator. So what I do now is I multiply this across. 3 times 1 is going to be 3. 3 times 2 is going to be 6. 2 times 1 is going to be 2. 2 times 3 is going to be 6. Now, these fractions mean the exact same thing as these fractions, right? If I simplified these all the way down, I would get this. The only difference is now they have the same denominator, so I can add them together. So what is -3/6 plus +2/6? Well, I'm going to subtract these two numbers. What's 3 minus 2? That's 1. And keep the sign of the bigger absolute value. So 3/6 is bigger than 2/6, so I'm going to keep this sign. So our answer is going to be -1/6. Boom, we got our answer. So now we move to the graphing part. What's the first thing we do? We want to say it in words. What is this? P is less than -1/6. After that, we have our number line. We're going to decide, is it going to be an open or closed circle at -1/6? Well, since there's no equal sign underneath, it's going to be an open circle at -1/6. So where is -1/6? Well, negative is going to be on this side, and it's a fraction, so it's going to be between 0 and 1. And since it's 1/6, it's going to be pretty close to 0. So we're going to put our point or our open circle for -1/6 about right here. Now that we've done that, what we can do is decide, are we shading to the left or the right? So we look back up here, P is less than -1/6. So we want all the numbers less than -1/6. So -1, -2, -3, -4. So we're going to shade to the left. And again, if you forgot, since we have our variable on the left, we just look which way the inequality symbol points, and we shade that way. Okay, our word problem says an elevator can lift at most 2,100 pounds. Write an inequality representing this scenario and graph the solution. So first, we have a word problem, so we need to define our variables. What is our variable here? Well, it says an elevator can lift at most 2,100 pounds. So let's just say W is the amount of weight the elevator can lift. You could have done L is the number of pounds the elevator can lift. Same thing. Next, we need to write our inequality. So what do we know about this weight? Well, it says the elevator can lift at the most 2,100 pounds. That means the very most, the very top amount of weight that the elevator can lift is 2,100 pounds. Okay, so our weight has to be less than or equal to 2,100 pounds. Sweet, now we have our inequality. Next, we need to graph the solution. So let's go ahead and graph the solution. First, we say this in words. What is it? W is less than or equal to 2,100. Next, we can start by graphing it on our number line down here. So first, is it an open or a closed circle? Well, we have an equal sign underneath because it's allowed to be at most 2,100 pounds. So we're going to put a closed circle at 2,100. So where is that? Well, let's look. Okay, if this goes by thousands, then this would be 1,000, 2,000. So 2,100 would be somewhere in here. Next, do we shade to the left or right? Well, it's W is less than or equal to 2,100. So we want all the numbers less than or equal to 2,100. So that's going to be this way. We're going to shade to the left side of our point. Remember, you can always look at which way this inequality symbol points as long as we have our variable on the left, and it shades to the left. Perfect. Now, part B says a man weighing 210 pounds and his boyfriend weighing 170 pounds are moving into an apartment on the 4th floor. They want to bring their workout equipment weighing 1,790 pounds up to their apartment. Will they be safe taking the elevator? So we need to figure out if all of this weight added together is going to be less than or equal to 2,100 pounds. So we first add all of that weight. 210 plus 170 plus 1,790 is going to give you 2,170. So we take that, we plug it in for W, and we end up getting 2,170 is less than or equal to 2,100. Is that true? No, that is not true. Therefore, they will not be safe taking the elevator. They should take the weight up in smaller parts.